你好，我是 Chris Gildart。这个游戏提供了不同的语言，所以我想我会用中文讲这部分视频。
Hey, I'm pretty sure I butchered that.
Anyways, Dynasty Warriors 9 is finally upon us, and it has actually been upon us for a while now, but these videos take some time, and I didn't get a review copy, so come on, throw me a bone. One thing I've seen as far as this game goes is a bunch of negativity coming from the community, reviewers, and, well, everyone at this point. So, what happened? We were supposed to get an epic open-world Muso adventure. Sure, there were clones and hyper-realistic faces, but how did this happen?
I actually spent a good amount of effort trying to stay clear of any kind of trailers. I wanted to go into this game with a clean slate of mine. No one else's opinions but mine. So what are my opinions? Well, let's find out with the first pro.
I can honestly say that I never felt bored while playing this game. There's always something to do in this world. Between constantly refreshing side quests, finding new landmarks on the map, and fighting bandits, tigers, and bears. Oh my! I was constantly exploring the lands, finding villages and towns where I could buy and craft new weapons, items, and so on. I was on a constant search for clusters of materials or boxes that could have rare items to provide to me. Even just completing the constantly appearing side quests that would give me more gold and experience was a good distraction from the main storyline. When I had to run somewhere, I'd make a point to check the map for landmarks and material clusters so that I could make a stop at each one on my way to the actual quest that I was in the middle of. There are also some smaller activities for you to keep up with, like fishing, which can get you not only fish, but also items and materials to sell and use in crafting. You can also buy houses or hideaways and design them to attract various officers from the land to swing by your pad and hang out. Maybe they'll even give you a gift. There are lots of places to find enemy troops and units to help you grind to level 100. Not to mention the fact that your horse has a level this time around as well, meaning you can beef up Red Hair while you explore the world and go for that 35 and 75% landmarks found trophy. All in all, there's so much for you to do in this incredibly vast world.
God!
So let's dig in a little deeper into this vast open world. Though there are a lot of things to do, there's a lot that could have been done to make this world feel more full. One of the worst aspects of running around the world is that you don't really run into normal people. Things like villagers, merchants, etc. Even in villages and towns, there's very little life to be seen. One of the first things I thought was, it'd be cool to run into a random merchant traveling between towns. They could even just have a schedule set for these merchants. Be in this city for so long, travel to the next closest city and restore your stock. If you catch them mid-travels, maybe they can give you a deal. The other thing that would help is patrol troops. Again, give them a schedule. Travel between different cities and towns and stuff. Maybe the leader can send you away to kill some bandits. That way they're not just NPCs being NPCs. It's a simple quest that's already given out by randos in the town, so why not make it a little bit better than just a reoccurring side quest? Then there's also the thought of the other generals that aren't part of the story you're in. Why are they only loitering around the villages? I think it'd be cool to find them hunting or patrolling in the outside world. Maybe even doing things that they like to do around town. If I don't see Zheng Fei drunk off his ass trying to steal a horse from the stables, this shit ain't real enough for me. Pro. I'm gonna mention a couple of positive things here, and I know, okay, I don't have a PS4 Pro, so I can't really go on and on about the visuals and how great they look, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because this is my video, and I do what I want. Like, this world is so full of nature. I was very worried that it would just be flat land to explore with maybe a single hill to run over. But there are mountains, trees, foliage, animals. So much stuff to make this game look beautiful. Not to mention how good all of the characters look. There are very few that I would say I prefer their past costumes to. Koei's art department did an incredible job of designing each character to look the best they've ever looked. On top of that, the new graphics engine helps the outfits look good too. As they run through the battlefield, their clothes get dirty and dusty. When you dive into water or it starts to rain, the clothes get all wet and the armor really shines. This game has led me to want a PS4 Pro even more, just because I want to see what additional power can do for this game. And as I said, most of the new character designs are really well done. And honestly, some of them are the best they've ever looked. Go on, at me. Every part of the character costumes look like they had care and time put into them. There are obviously some outfits that feel like they don't quite suit the character as much as the older ones. I mean, it does feel like a couple of the characters that were introduced in Dynasty Warriors 8 had their outfits dumbed down, but for the most part, the design is top notch. And we haven't seen any word on DLC yet, but I'm really excited to see what some of the older costumes look like in this new graphics engine. Now, the other thing people have been disappointed about is that that some characters' weapons have changed. Though some weapon choices I don't necessarily agree with, you can still pick any weapon you want. So if you want to run into a battle with Peng De's double axe, you can. Or maybe classic Zheng Liao. There is some freedom here to equip whatever weapon you want. Lastly, unlike my Fast Racing Neo review, I'm going to mention the options as a pro here. This is because of how many options you have. You can choose from so many HUD toggles, and I'll be honest, I play with a very minimal HUD. I don't like the quest information or even the guide to be displayed. This makes the game feel more like a Warriors title. Even if the open world is a little hard to travel without the guide, it's still so much fun. God! Now, you may have noticed that I haven't mentioned the new combat system yet, and that's because I'm gonna mention it here. Yep, the biggest aspect that I've always loved about Warriors games is a con. I feel like previous Warriors games gave you a more in-depth combat system. In other Dynasty Warriors games, you were given a light attack of up to 6-ish hits and a heavy attack which was used to finish your combos. Some Warriors games took it even further and allowed a mixture of heavy and light attacks. Your combos increased by either gaining more levels or equipping a stronger weapon. In Dynasty Warriors 9, the combat system seems complicated on the outside, but to me, it kind of feels like Dynasty Warriors 6. Sans the little system that shall not be named. Your square button is called a flow attack. This is a string of attacks that is kind of similar to your light attack combos of the older games, but the biggest difference is that the triangle doesn't end the combo. Triangle is called your trigger attack. This is used when a prompt is given to you, usually leading to a finishing blow or a counter attack. Now, that's not the only thing you have to use. If you hold R1, this brings up a menu of attacks that can place your enemy into different states. Triangle, square, and X will make your enemies airborne, stunned, and grounded. After you've put an enemy into that state, your flow attack combo will be different, and some flow combos do seem to work a little bit better than others. If you hold R1 and press circle, this will perform a special attack that has a slight cooldown. These special attacks, for the most part, are the EX attacks from Dynasty Warriors 7 and 8. These points may seem like a good update to the admittedly basic combo system, but I found myself just mashing the square button more often than not. The trigger attacks don't work all the time, so if you're relying on a specific combo to take down an enemy, you won't always be able to keep it up. Not only that, the difference in damage that each flow attack combo has isn't big enough for you to really rely on it too much. Your combos don't grow either, they just stay the same throughout the entire game, no matter what level you are or what weapon you have attached. Combat, though not too bad, was just a little bit repetitive for me. I know I compared it to Dynasty Warriors 6, but honestly it's not that bad. It's just a disappointment compared to how on point Warriors games have been lately. If they had kept the old EX system that was used in the last two entries, I think this would have been a lot more fun for me. Pro! I know I still haven't Platinum Super Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legend Complete Edition Final Mega Director's Cut, but most of that is just grinding. As far as finishing all of the stories and extra modes, I pretty much did that in like a few months. I've been playing Dynasty Warriors 9 since it was released, and I still haven't finished every story. If you really take your time through each story and do every little side quest along the way, you may have finally finished your first story by now. That's essentially what I did with Charlottetown. I just explored the map, leveling up, finding new landmarks. Every village or town I'd come across, I'd pick up some side quests, complete them, and move on to the next. I started playing his story the day after this came out, and I still haven't finished it as of the recording of this video. So yeah, if you really slow down and take everything in that this game has to offer, it is a very lengthy experience. And it's definitely the best way to experience it too. But then there's the fact that you only just beat one story, when there is a total of 90 characters to play in this game, each character having their own story of varying lengths. Obviously, someone like Zheng Zhao would only be playable for the one chapter, but somebody like Guan Yu has a staggering story to complete. Not only that, but the small roadblocks along the way, like the story missions that you can't just rush through, some missions actually require you to complete the applicable side missions before you can even trigger the main one. I think this is one of the longest Warriors games we've ever received. There isn't even much post-game, but holy fuck is there a ton of main game for you to get through. God! Alright, here comes the doozy. The one that some of you may have been waiting for. In my review of Dynasty Warriors 6, I got this out of the way in the first con, but this time I thought it was better to leave this to last. Here are some of the things that drove me a little bonkers while playing through what I was hoping to be a flawless step into the new era of Warriors games. First of all, let's start with the story. Since it's the biggest part of the game that will keep you coming back, it should be a hell of a lot more gripping than it is. Many conversations are displayed using emotionless text boxes. Character models lightly flail about to simulate human speech mannerisms that feel extremely lacking. Even though their facial animations do change and actual words come out of their mouth, I can't help but compare these jerky movements to that of the quote-unquote humans from Sonic 06. Seriously though, once you see it, you can't unsee it. One thing I see a lot of complaints about is the grappling hook. It's too easy to scale walls, run up to the target, and kill them. That's not really like a Warriors game. I mean, have you played Dynasty Warriors 4? But I digress. The grappling hook could have been done much better. I'll admit, it is fairly easy to skip through a character's story. While discussing this on the Discord group, another YouTuber, Kasunami, told me that Guan Yu's story took him about 15 hours when it probably took me around 5. If the grappling hooks were actual items and had durability, I think it would help people decide when to use them. Have them not sold in shops, but crafted, so that you'd have to find the materials if you wanted the easy way out. Next is the frame rate. Although Koei did put out a patch that allows you to change the graphical style, favoring frame rate steadiness, it does still have moments where it just pukes on itself and then tries to brush it off like nothing happened. This doesn't really happen while you're just roaming the land, but during larger scale battles you might still see the game struggling to keep up with itself. It's sad that this wasn't caught at first and tried to patch out before it reached the masses. I always hate to see a company have to put out an apology because they didn't patch up their game properly before the full release. I'm pretty sure if Koei had just made a statement like, due to the frame rate issues with localized copies of the game, we will have to delay the release for a week or two to come up with a solution, it would have saved the company loads of PR problems in my opinion. Then there are the glitches. One thing that led a few of my friends to get so frustrated and even stop playing the game for a while. I didn't have anything too game-breaking. The biggest issue is that when I picked Cao Cao, the first mission after you leave the village wouldn't finish itself. I spoke to the soldier who took me to the castle and nothing happened. The mission kept telling me to go back to the same village and speak to that same soldier, who would then ask me the same question and then nothing would happen. I tried running around and completing some side quests, hoping that one of them would trigger something, but nothing happened. I had to restart Cao Cao's story the next day, and then everything was fine. Another glitch that I ran into is when I would accept a ton of side quests from a village, complete one, and it would complete all of them. Even ones from other towns. I mean, I'm not really complaining about this because it's in my benefit, but I thought I'd mention it anyways. Then there's probably the most annoying glitch I ran into, and I actually tweeted out a picture saying, "Wow, I thought I was playing Dynasty Warriors 9, not Dynasty Warriors 4. Essentially, when you reach the edge of the map, a heavy fog sets in, telling you that you can't proceed any further. There's also an invisible wall, but I honestly think it is better than just an invisible wall. The only thing is, when I reached the edge of the map, I was adventuring, trying to find new landmarks to get that trophy. So I fast traveled to another place so I could run a little bit more free to find new locations, but the fog stayed with me. It almost seemed to get worse too. I mean, I guess I did get some memories of a time long gone. One thing that did catch me early on as a trophy hunter was a severe lack of statistics. Things like bow kills, mounted kills, meals ate, etc. While I was completing some of these more grindy trophies, I had no clue where I was at them. I ended up getting the trophies that worried me the most, but it was annoying not to know how close to them I was. This would have been a simple thing to add in, and I hope they throw it into the gallery sometime with a patch. Next thing I have to touch on is the voice acting. You may have heard the incredibly negative reception to the new voice actors, and I have quite a few opinions on that in fact. First off, we've had worse as far as voice acting goes. Sure, it's not the "it's so bad it's good" of Dynasty Warriors 3, but if you listen closely to each individual line, we have some really good deliveries here and there. And I'd say that some of the voices may even suit the characters more than the previous ones. Except for Kirk Thornton as Xiahou Dun. No one can replace him. Hashtag bring back Kirk. Now you may be thinking, why is Chris mentioning this as a con? It seems like he actually likes it. Well, that's because even though we have some very well delivered lines, in the context of each scene, it's not quite as good as it should be. The emotion is off and sentence structure isn't always well done. While playing through the game, I came to the conclusion that the actors aren't bad, but maybe the direction was. Maxwell Chase, voice actor of Li Dian and Guan Suo, made a post candidly talking about the process of recording his lines. If you haven't already checked out the Reddit post, I'll link to it in the description, as I'm only really going to touch on a few things here. Max goes into detail about the lack of preparation and resources provided to the voice actors. Things like being given a static image of their character along with their lines and only having a 4 to 5 word sentence for their direction. All this leading to the lack of emotional awareness these conversations have. Not to mention the language barrier between some of the actors and the Chinese names that they were struggling with. Going with smaller indie actors isn't bad. In fact, I'd commend Koei for doing that if they helped them the right way. The big thing they should have done is give them proper direction. Maybe someone internally who knew exactly how these lines would need to be delivered in order to provide proper atmosphere. Also, giving the actors the actual video footage for each conversation. You don't really have to match the lip flaps. I'm cool with that. At least allow the actors to know exactly how the character is moving, their body language, and so on. Lastly, giving everyone a complete list of pronunciations. The voice acting could have been better if they were given the proper tools to succeed. And lastly, I have to mention one thing that grinds my gears so much. The unique NPCs. Like, come on! Why hold these back from being playable behind a paywall? This is the saddest thing about Dynasty Warriors 9, that the AAA market has seeped into this game. I don't mind DLC. In fact, I welcome getting costumes from older games with open arms. But the season pass that includes content that is obviously in the game already, now that's sad. I would only be happy by this DLC if they give the characters new weapons and movesets that aren't already in the game. Plus, they've announced that weapons will be in the Season Pass, and my only worry is that these will be the old weapons like Zheng He's claws or Sun Tzu's tonfas. Hopefully, I'll be pleasantly surprised by the Season Pass, but I have my doubts. In the end, my thoughts on Dynasty Warriors 9 are very confusing. I didn't want to put this game down, but to be honest, the cons wrote themselves easier than the pros. I had a lot to complain about, but I still had some good things to mention as well. Though there's a lot to do in this open world, and smaller side quests continuously refresh in every town, the world just doesn't feel as alive as it should be. Small units and merchants traveling various routes on the map would have helped this game feel more full. That being said, it will take you forever to go through every character's story and go for that full 100% completion. As of the writing of the script, I've put in over 90 hours into this game, and I've only completed about 7 stories. But then I have to mention that the combat isn't quite what I was hoping for. The new system feels even more like a button masher with very little experimentation in the form of combos. I also may have had a good list of minor positive points, but my list of negatives is much larger. Patches may have fixed many of the bugs in this game, but it almost feels too little too late. These bugs and glitches should have been caught in playtesting, and the proper work should have been done prior to the launch. Holding this game back a couple of weeks wouldn't have been that terrible of an idea, and I believe it would have led to a more positive reception. But with everything said, this is my review and how I received the game myself. It was really difficult to come up with a score. Like I said, I had so much to complain about, but I couldn't put my controller down. So my final rating for Dynasty Warriors 9 is a 7 out of 10. There are many things Koei could have done to make this game so much better. Steps they didn't take to make sure that the quality of the game was as high as possible when it reached the hands of the masses. It's disappointing that the game wasn't delayed to ensure that these patches could have been developed into the final game. The poor handling of the localized voice acting, glitches and bugs still appearing in the game, and less involved combat system. Everything led to a lower score than I really wanted to give. If you're new to the series and this is your first time playing a Warriors game, you might enjoy it more than those of us who have been here for the long haul. I've been a fan for well over a decade, and even though aspects of this game disappointed me, I'm still excited to see what Koei can do with some patches and the potential of what the Warriors franchise looks like in the future. Thank you for watching, everyone. What are your thoughts on Dynasty Warriors 9? Sound off in the comments down below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out the Patreon, where you can get a few nice rewards like weekly updates on production. Don't forget that Musou is coming up, and it's going to be bigger and better than last year. Thanks again, everyone, and I will see you all down in the comments.